And welcome to another edition of the Aloha Pools and Spas Deep Dive Podcast. I'm John Watts along with Brad Cook, and today we have Brian
Tabor, Prestige Pools.
Outstanding.
Prestige Pools.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, this is the first time that we've been to a home show where we only did it we did it last weekend at the Belleville home show, and we interviewed people that had businesses that would complement ours, like fencing and decking and, a home builder and even a solar guy, because they had this gazebo type thing set up, or pergola set up, and they had a solar panel on it. And solar's always fascinating. So we, a lumber company, we just interviewed a lot of people, but not pool companies. There wasn't any pool companies over there to interview. So I thought, if we have one next week, I'm gonna see if they want to talk. And
appreciate you inviting me.
Yeah, and I had a fella tell me that a couple of weeks ago, when we were speaking of the competitive space, that when he said the saying, a rising tide raises all boats. So I thought, well, yeah, let's run with that.
Absolutely.
So anyway, so Brian, you've been a salesperson, I heard, 40 years. Is that about right?
This is my 28th year.
Okay.
Our company's been in business for 41. This is my 28th. I joined in 98.
See, I wasn't even born 41 years ago.
I was in grade school.
No, I was born 60 years ago. I wasn't born 41 years ago. Yeah, see what I did? Right, right. So, and Prestige Pools here in St. Louis, right?
Yeah. South County.
You got one location in South County?
We have one store on Watson Road, yeah.
Watson Road, okay, in South County, which is St. Louis still. Yeah.
Sunset Hills, yeah.
Right. And what do you guys build over at Prestige? What does your company do at Prestige?
Well, first line in the store, we have a whole line of hot tubs. Swim spas, hot tubs, 2-person, 4-person, 6-person. My part is I do all the in-ground sales, and we do the vinyl liner pools. We have 2 crews that do our installs on the liner pool.
Right. Okay.
We also do fiberglass pools. Right. We carry a couple different manufacturers, and we have another crew that does that. And then we also do concrete pools or gunite pools, and then we have another crew that does those.
Wow. Okay.
So we run 4 crews. All of our crews have been with us for a long period of time.
Right.
I've got one installer that's been with us over 30 years. He's pretty much doing the liner replacements and things like that. Our excavator's been with us 31 years. Our concrete guy, I actually met his dad down here at the home show 23 years ago. We hired his dad, and then he grew up in the company. His father has since retired, and he's been doing all of our pools now for years. So,
and he comes behind all the crews doing the concrete work.
We do one step at a time, and everybody's a specialist. We have a retaining wall crew. We have a fencing crew. Everybody's a specialist.
That's a nice setup, because you've got people who work in their own specialty area, and so they just do that every day. So if you got a concrete guy that does concrete every day, it becomes
they're all specialists.
Yeah, and it's really good. And what's your most popular? Would you say is your most popular type of pool? You said you do concrete, or you do gunite, you do fiberglass, and you do vinyl. Which one do y'all sell the most of?
Well, the more popular one we do is the liner pool.
Right.
That pool's custom to any size, shape, width, length, depth we want for the homeowner. But the biggest benefit to that, there's several, is that most of the people that are buying a pool are having children. They are grandchildren. Not all, but the majority. The liner pool is extremely comfortable for kids to swim in that pool all day long.
Agreed.
Fiberglass are as well. But we don't have the customization with the fiberglass, but they're a great pool.
Right.
All 3 pools are great pools. They all just kind of fit a different lifestyle and a different thought process and what have you. But our most popular one is the liner pool, because it is custom, because it's very comfortable on the kids' feet. It's a little more economical than a gunite pool, which is also custom, very elegant, very nice pools. The customers, some of them do like that they can change the liner anytime they want. So if they get tired of the color, or if they sell the house, a new homeowner can put in whatever color liner.
It makes it look like a brand new pool.
Brand new.
Yeah.
I have people that change their liner when they change their patio furniture, or they come in the store and pick out chemicals, and they see a liner they want, and next thing you know, we're ordering a new liner for them.
That's fascinating. That and not being in the day to day of the liner sales, I know that's a good part of what we do, but and also vinyl is considerably less less in cost than, say, that of a fiberglass.
A little bit.
Right.
The fiberglass pools, if we're going on a larger pool, a 1635 or a 16 by 40, then that fiberglass pool will actually be more expensive than the liner pool. But if they're smaller pools, they're going to be comparable in cost. Right. As the liner pools get bigger, the price per square foot drops off quite a bit.
Right.
As it gets bigger on a fiberglass pool, they stay the same, and same way with a gunite pool. So
That's right.
The liner pools, as they get bigger, will start to fall off in price compared to the other two.
It's fascinating how we align on that, because that's the same exact way it is with our pools. There's
right.
something to be said about just adding that little bit. The customization of a vinyl pool, it's not that much more
right.
to do it, and depending on what you get. So on let's talk vinyl pools for a second, and because there's the customization is, like you said, it's quite customizable, as is a gunite pool. But let's talk about what is going on. What are you seeing these days that is a popular customization, we'll say, of a vinyl pool?
There's three factors that come into play on every pool. The first one is shape. Do we want rectangle or do we want freeform? And that's going to boil down to homeowner's personal preference and the yard. We're
right.
backing up to a creek and woods. A lot of times we're freeform. But there for a few years, it was all freeform. I would only do, if I would do 60, 70 pools in a year, we would only do 4 or 5 rectangle pools. They were all freeform. Now I'm starting to see the trend where we're doing more and more rectangles.
Oh, yeah, right. Okay.
Mom and dad had a rectangle, so I don't want a rectangle. Now, Mom and dad had a freeform.
Really?
Now we want to start getting into more rectangles. So I'm doing more rectangle pools now than I've ever done in the last 10 years. Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to ask, does it have anything to do with thermal shelves or tanning shelves, sun shelves? I don't know what you guys call them, but the little shallow areas that connect to the pool?
The shape is the one. The second one is the depth.
Okay.
Most people have children. The biggest decision is, do we want a diving board or do we just want deep enough to be able to dive into? 6 to 6.5 foot or 8 foot is the trend. That's 90% of my pools. Every once in a while, I'll get an elderly couple that just want to walk around the pool for exercise. The third thing, tanning ledge.
Yeah.
All ladies want a tanning ledge.
Right.
They start off with the children, but the children are only going to use that tanning ledge for a year. They're going to graduate to the big boy pool and they're never going to use it again.
Right.
It's the ladies who like the tanning ledges. They want to be able to go in, sit down, not get their hair and face wet, and have a drink and talk to their girlfriends.
Exactly.
And the tanning ledge fits that bill. The guys all want to dive in the deep end and then swim up to the shallow end and stand there and chat.
Right.
The kids end up staying in the deep end of the pool, and that's how most of them are going to phase out over time. But the tanning ledges, we started doing tanning. I did the first tanning ledge in 1999, and that was a pool. It was a concrete pool because we couldn't do them on liner pools back then. We did the first one on a concrete pool back in 1999, and that was out in Wentzville. And we took some pictures of that, and that really exploded our concrete pools for a while.
Oh, yeah.
Because we couldn't do them in liner pools.
Right.
In the last 15, 16, 17 years, now we've been able to do them in liner pools, and it's just taken off. More than half, 80% of the pools I do get a tanning ledge.
Yeah, I don't know the number of hours, but it's remarkable how many, and not always, everybody always ends up with one, but everybody talks about one. Mm-hmm. And my wife and I were sitting on ours one day, and she said, you know what? I don't even think we need a bigger pool. We just need the tanning ledge. And I was like, no, we need to get in there and cool off.
And I will suggest when the ladies will generally ask me that, I will say that'll be the most used part of the pool.
And I think it is. I think the thing that a lot of people, and I don't know if you've seen any of these really small tanning ledge pools that's really just an 8-inch deep pool, they don't really realize that is going to get hot, and that'll get hot in about 8 hours and it'll get beyond comfort. So it's nice to have this body of water that's cooler, that you can circulate cooler water through, instead of it just because it becomes a bath at that time, and it's just not fun. When you consider that. So tanning shelves is a big thing. Any other inside the pool, things like that?
No, benches. Some customers are going to want benches, but volleyball is big for some people. But then you're into a bigger pool because you've got to take into account the depth. How you got to get to that depth and what size shallow area. And, the size of the yard is coming into play. The yards are getting smaller. The houses are getting bigger.
Yeah.
The setbacks are getting bigger on some of these, and it's making it more and more difficult for in-ground pools.
You said something about that a little bit ago, and well, what you said is you built a lot of curvy pools, and when you have small backyards and elevation issues, I would think, as you do a lot in the St. Louis area, I think that would lend itself to create a really cool poolscape with the curvy pool and the retainer walls. I mean,
well, it does, and it also too helps because I can, instead of putting the pool in parallel to the house, which you would typically want to do on a rectangle pool,
right.
Now I can angle the pool. I can maybe put the shallow end behind the deck and then bring the deep end in closer to the house and maybe angle the pool if I have certain restrictions in the yard, if I've got easements or whatever the case.
Yeah, and it allows for elevation changes, and it just kind of helps it to kind of
maybe need a retaining wall on this part of the pool, but not this part of the pool. Right. So sometimes you can get really creative with the design and make it complement the yard. Hopefully, not only the homeowner, but complement the yard as well.
I was talking to a landscaper last weekend at Belleville, and I was talking about, have you ever fixed anything with landscape, a runoff problem or a problem, in the yard with landscaping? He said, of course, and it talked about you cut into the yard and now there's this hillside and it runs down to the pool. So, using what we know, what how to, when you get out in a yard, and then a good landscaping company right there behind you, that helps to add to the whole backyard experience and the final look. And what could be a problem is taken care of with the magic of, the blending the two companies together.
Fortunately and unfortunately, I've been doing this a long time. And the swimming pool is the first thing that goes in. That's the first thing that gets designed. Everything gets designed around the pool. And a good landscaper will come in and pay attention to drainage. Right. I've seen some really bad landscaping jobs that ended up causing problems, not only for the pool, but for the house because of the landscaping. And we'll put a berm here, and next thing you know, they're directing water right toward the basement of the house or right toward the concrete of the pool. And now it's going to erode under the concrete, get under the pool, and cause issues. So the landscapers, I tend to, if I get a recommendation or I get asked about landscapers, I tend to work with landscapers who I know are going to benefit the pool and not cause issues, because there are some out there that do.
Yeah, because a lot of them, the experienced ones will know that there's water coming off that pool, and that they're going to take it for you. And I've been in a lot of backyards where landscapers, will talk and they'll say, "Don't worry about that. We're going to take care of the the water issue." You said a minute ago that backyards, houses are getting bigger, backyards are getting smaller, or at least backyards are getting smaller. And it brought me to ask you about plunge pools. What are you seeing in the world of plunge pools now?
Getting a lot more requests for those. In fact, I just wrote a contract on one Tuesday.
Right.
A 10 by 20.
Yep.
So I'm starting to see more of those 8 by 16s, 10 by 20s. 8 by 20s. I'm getting a lot more requests for those. They've really become popular in the last 2 to 3 years.
People adding on the swim jets?
No, most people aren't. I will suggest that or discuss that, but most people aren't doing it for exercise as much as they are. It's mainly people my age want to have a place to go in and sit and have a glass of wine and have their friends over.
Gotcha.
That's what I'm seeing a lot of. They don't want a full-blown pool. They don't want to take up the whole backyard. They just want something to be able to have their few friends over. And plunge pools are mostly seats. The whole pool is a seat. It's seat benches all around. They just want to be able to go in and sit down in that pool and have a glass of wine, iced tea, water, whatever they're drinking. And hang out with some friends when it's 95 degrees outside. Yeah. So I'm doing heat pumps and chillers on those so we can chill the water down. Of course.
Definitely want to be able to chill that.
Yeah.
We stayed, and sometimes we will advertise a kind of a lowest cost price of a pool. And we would advertise starting at this. Depends on the year, because you've been doing it for a long time. Pools have, fluctuated upward in price, but let's just say $39,000. Pool starting at $39,000. We'll just say it like that, and then we would price something like a 8 by 16 oval pool, It's not a big pool, but and then because that is the entry point to in-ground pools, right? I mean, that's we just started terming it plunge pool a few years ago. Well, people would get upset, but now because they wanted a 16 by 32 pool, okay, but we felt like it was a disservice to people who wanted a small place to get in, just like what you said, and to not show that point of entry is not what everybody thinks it is on the big pool. Well, now all that size is becoming, that's a growing category.
Yeah, I nicknamed it party pool years ago.
Yeah.
Before the term plunge pool came out, I would call it a party pool. So it wasn't to downgrade anybody, but to make it sound like it was going to be a good time.
Well, yeah, and last weekend we sold a swim spa from a swim spa company that benches all the way around, just one of those 12 or 13 footers. I bet you have one too.
Mm-hmm.
And we had good luck with that one. I think we sold a couple of them. And what the turnout is that same thing. You've got benches on each end. It's just so you can get that in a swim spa that was satisfactory. John and I talked last week. We're going to put him one in his backyard at a plunge pool like we have over there and film the whole installation of it. So he's the videographer here, so he's going to film the installation and be a pool owner too at the same time. But that's you want people to see that, so to get the word out, because that it doesn't take a year of planning to get one put in, and y'all can do it, we can do it, and so there's not just one person doing it, so you can shop the
Yeah, and they're not as expensive as a traditional pool too. You can get those in, and most of the ones that I do, we can do them out of liner, we can do them whatever you want, but most of the ones that we do are fiberglass, and they're already made, and come in on the truck.
Exactly. And I don't know if I told my story all the way on that 8x16. I came up with it because we went to Florida. There was 10 of us. My kids are 6 and my kids are 4 kids, and they all brought one friend. My wife and I, 10 of us. And there was this little 8x16 oval in the backyard at our place. It was about a street or two off the beach. And so we would come in the afternoon, and we would all be piled in that pool, just hanging around and talking and having a big time. That's what people don't really, understand, that it's easy it's a low barrier to entry, and you have a great summer. To me, if you can get one of those blow up floats to spin 360 degrees, you got a pool. So I guess that could be 8 foot round, for that matter. But,
well, and a lot of times, I get people that move here from out of state. They'll come here, job relocation or whatever. They don't have any friends. They don't have all they have is work associates until they meet people. Mm-hmm. And a pool like that is perfect for somebody like that too,
Yeah, I don't have any friends. That's why a plunge pool is wonderful for my wife and I.
I hear you.
It will hold him and 2 friends.
And the friends are his wife's friends.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, and so hot tub, like this whole backyard thing that we do, are you guys, which I'll tell you we do, anytime somebody wants to buy a pool, we will offer them a hot tub at a discounted price. And I'm sure you guys would do the same. But what I love about hot tubs is when my kids were growing up and they had friends over, they would go from the pool to the hot tub. It could be 95 degrees. And they'd go sit in 102 degree water. I'm thinking, what in the world are you guys doing? But they would do that, and then they'd run and get back in the pool. I mean, the perfect complement to a pool is a hot tub. And then when the sad day comes of closing your pool, you still got a hot tub. You still get to have that pool and that outdoor experience all year long. Yeah, I guess, and I'm sure you're going to agree with that. The pool salesman would agree with that, right?
I would, yeah. So the hot tubs have come a long ways in the last 15, 20 years. I remember we used to do hot tubs 20, 25 years ago. And the hot tubs today compared to then are tremendously different. I get a lot of requests for built-in hot tubs. And those tend to get really expensive.
They do.
And you get 8 to 10 jets. And pretty much all you're doing is moving hot water.
Right.
So I probably, a lot of customers will thank me, but I try to say, look, let's go to the store and pick out a portable hot tub that
Right.
will get you 50, 60 jets, 3 pumps, a cover that you can use all winter.
Right.
And it's a third of the price of building one in the
Oh, and
pool.
the seats are conformed to your body. There's no comparison. You know,
You got any?
It's not the architectural, work of art that you see in the books, but daily use, it's just
Yes.
Here's a weird question from a consumer who's not been in the pool industry very long that you guys might be able to. When you mention a built-in hot tub, why can't you put one of the ones that are not necessarily built in, but just put that right next to it, kind of, build the pool around it?
So we used to get our hot tubs from a company called Catalina that was out in California. Boyd owned the company. And we got with...
I heard of the legend of Boyd.
Boyd was a pioneer in the hot tub industry. He came up with some ideas that kind of took hot tubs from being very low to very high. He came up with LED lighting and stereos and waterfalls and
TVs.
We had a 36-inch television that came out of the hot tub,
which was gigantic at the time.
Oh my God, it was huge, and it was LED or not LED, but
LCD or flat screen or whatever. The latest and greatest.
Got hotter than crazy, hotter than
yeah.
So he was kind of a pioneer, and the Catalina spas that he built were, nobody could touch them as far as the quality of the hot tubs would go. So we got with Boyd, and we ended up coming up with a hot tub that had a spillover that we could do in the pool. The downside is where whenever you have a hot tub that is contained in a case, you can put 2 or 3 pumps in there, and you're only moving water 6 or 7 feet by the time you get through the jets. When you do an in-ground hot tub, you're putting the pump and the filter and the heater 20, 30, 40 feet away. Right. And now you've got to run through 20, 30, 40 feet to get to those jets. In the wintertime, that ground's trying to freeze.
Right.
You're trying to heat the pipes up and the water up with a heater that's setting in 10-degree air up to 100 degrees, 104 degrees to run into a hot tub, and the amount that the heaters it would take and the pumps it would take and all that to even come close to that. You're crazy in cost, not only to heat it, but to build it.
You got to have an automatic fill on it because it's going to evaporate and get rid of water. Have you seen, and I know you have, the fiberglass pools that have a spa attached?
Yes, I have some of those, yeah.
We got one last year, and it's the size of it and the shape of it. It didn't take off quite like I thought. Well, I was talking to a guy the other day about this very thing. So the hot tub is already molded into the
part of the shape.
It's just part of the shell, yeah. And but you have to go in and put your jets in. And the guy, he's an engineer, and he wanted, he liked the idea of it, maybe an automatic cover. So the automatic cover, even in the winter, you could just take the cover back. But all the inefficiencies and all, I suggested, because we had it, and it had a scratch on the outside. I was discounting it quite a bit. I said, and I told him, for the equipment that you're going to have to buy to make this a hot tub, you could afford the portable one, but take this pool and just make an area where you were talking about like a tanning ledge, right? Where people just sit around, drink their tea or drink or whatever and talk. And then we can do a stilling line or whatever to make it where the 2 bodies, you don't have to fill one, you don't have to fill the other, they share, or we can make it to where it will go from the hot tub over to the pool and cascade for a little while if they want it to. We had options just with the pool and make it just a part of the pool. Put a skimmer in there, of course, and maybe even a suction line, add a drain over there to get it, but also make it to where it's equal with the the water stays the same. Mm-hmm. You fill the whole, fill one body of water and it's the same. And I don't think he took me up on that, but I think that's a great thing to do with if you had a fiberglass pool with a hot tub attached, the cost is not a lot more for that that I can tell, except until you make it a spa with a different pump and a heater and all. And I'll tell you this, my advice to anybody that wants to do that, put that equipment inside your heater, everything, so that day or that time when the power goes out or something glitches off and it doesn't come back on or something, that you've got your equipment protected and it's not exposed, because we have some of those in Tennessee, and Tennessee's a little bit warmer, but not much. And when one of those things happens where you have power outages, people with that type of equipment run wild. It scares us. So my suggestion would be put all that stuff inside and do it if you want. But back to the efficiency of the hot tub, you're still not going to get that anything. You're going to get that architectural look, and it'll all be, I would just use it in the summer. I think it would be awesome to just use one of those things in the summer,
Well, I really try to find out what the purpose of the hot tub is, what you're going to be using this hot tub for.
This guy's been around. He knows his stuff.
And then I can make suggestions and recommendations, because most of the time I will recommend that you use the hot tub in the summer. If you absolutely have to have it, use it in the summer, but shut it down in the winter, because you may get heating bills that are $600, $700, $1,000 a month to heat that hot tub.
In one of those tubs, yeah.
Especially if it gets down, if it gets down 10, 15 degrees and stays there for 3 or 4 days, and you got wind blowing, you got to keep that water flowing, and that heater's going to keep running. You got to keep the water warm, and that's when everybody wants to use the hot tub. Well, go out and hop in that portable hot tub that costs you $100 a month to heat.
And you have this huge row of jets just hitting you in the back, and foot jets, and you got all kinds of stuff that you can't get on one of those.
It'll find any ache and pain you have if you have them. If you get the right tub,
Yeah.
But yeah, so hot tubs are great, but it's kind of like a swimming pool. You have to match the hot tub to the homeowner. You got to know what they're using it for to help them with that. So that's primarily what I tried to do. So
yeah, for sure. Swim spas is swim spa on the uptick for you guys?
Yeah, they're getting more and more popular. Yeah, they've been popular for a while, but it seems like they're getting more and more. The kids need to get outside more.
Right.
They're no downers. It's the time, but they're we're sitting on the couch and we're texting and we're playing games and we're not getting exercise and stuff like that.
So. Get them out too. And then if you ever, I'll just tell you, I love hot tubs, and I'm typically the only one sitting in the hot tub. But we've got a friend group at the lake that sometimes we'll have dinner afterwards and all. And I've always thought, except my 8-person hot tub is I'm not going to sit in there with 4 people, much less 8. But what about one of those family fun, or not family fun pool, but the swim spa, one of those smaller swim spas? I think you might have referred to it as a party pool. No, you referred to something else as a party pool, but something more like that where you could spread out and get in. I would be glad to, I think that would be fun to just after when the night cools down a little bit, just go and hang out and just talk, just to continue the conversation.
The perfect time for those is when it cools down to 70 degrees and you've been out in the 90, 95 degree heat, and it cools down to 70. You can get in that hot tub, and it's like the middle of summer, but it's a comfortable heat. It's much better than sitting out there with a sweatshirt on or a jacket on because it got so cold. Those nights are perfect for that. Sitting out on the lake, oh my God, watching the boats run around and all the lights and all, that would be fantastic.
And even though it's a bigger body of water, it's more like the size of a pool. It's all insulated around, and it's got an insulated cover on it, and it's going to cost more than a small hot tub, but proportionate to that of a small hot tub, not disproportionate to that, or you're heating the water and the world. The water's heating the world, So
well, and then you sit in there with the crystal clear water, and you look at the lake water, and you go, "I'll go back to the hot tub."
Right. I'll tell you, I've said this on another video. We do some videoing, but I tell I've got one video about RVs and boats and camping and the lake and or a pool, and about how much work we'll put into getting out on the water versus walking outside in fact, we will walk outside past our pool. So we could just drop everything and get in the pool, and it'd be a lot faster. And so we're in a business that is hard. It not for everyone. And but I'm going to say in the leisure business that we've got a really good product for people because of the ease to get to, and I don't know where you stand on this, but if you buy a pool, say you buy $100,000 pool, the realtors say it's going to be worth about half. Would you say half is?
It depends on the realtor. If the realtor has been around for a while and they're experienced,
right?
They're all different. But I'll say this from my perspective. Years ago, when you bought a pool, the word was that, and back then there were a lot of maintenance and there were a lot of work, and you had to spend the whole weekend vacuuming the pool and all that, and that was a deterrent. That's not the case anymore.
Nope.
I will suggest to my homeowners who say, if I spend this much money on a pool, how much am I going to get back? And my first question my first statement is, it depends on how long you stay in this house.
Right.
If you're in this house 10 years or more, you're going to recover a great deal, if not more, than what you paid for the pool.
Exactly.
Yes. If you put this house up for sale in 5 years, swimming pools are in huge demand right now, and they were in tremendous demand during COVID. It's the biggest we've ever had in the history of swimming pools during COVID, as were boats and RVs and everything else.
Yeah, for sure.
But swimming pools, because of the invention of automatic vacuum cleaners and because of salt systems or because of lighting that we can do to cut down on the maintenance, and because we don't have big yards anymore, and because the kids don't get outside and exercise anymore, and there's such a disparity between a grandparent and a grandchild anymore. Grandchildren come over with phones and computers, and the grandparents don't know how to work them.
Right.
And the grandkids want to play games on television, and grandparents don't know how to do it. So the one thing we have in common is we can go swimming.
Yeah.
So let's all go outside and hang out in the pool, and everybody's in a good mood.
Yeah. The grandkids are IT now. When they come over there, you're IT.
Well, they fix everything for us, and then we go swimming.
Right. Exactly.
So I have seen that in recent years, in the last 10 years, that if you have a really nice house and a really nice pool, that house is sold before the sign ever gets in the yard.
Yeah.
People will say to me, "Oh, we've been looking for a house with a pool, and we can find a really nice house, but the pool."
Yeah.
Right. Well, that's why it's on the market. We found a really nice pool, but the house is. Well, that's why it's on the market. But if you have a nice pool and you have a nice house, it's gone immediately for a lot more than they're asking for it.
Right. And yeah, he made my point for me. You might buy it, and then a real estate appraiser give you half for it, but then the time when you buy real estate, it just keeps getting more and more expensive. So that half price, if half price is the going rate, and your pool is up to date when it comes at 10 years later, you got your money back.
You do.
And then you had all that time with your family together.
And you had all that quality time.
Yeah.
So I suggest to my homeowners that you don't buy this pool as a financial investment, although it's not going to hurt you as bad as you think. You buy this for the quality time that you get to spend with your family, and you have to love to entertain, because if you have a swimming pool, you're going to have friends. You need another refrigerator. You need more coolers. Everybody needs to bring their own drink. They need to bring their own food, and you get to eat and drink off everybody, because if you think the pool's expensive, try entertaining everybody every weekend.
Right.
That's what gets expensive.
I like your plan there. Yeah, the
I'm
price.
finally going to have friends.
The price of entry is the food and drink.
Exactly.
So, yeah, right.
Exactly right. Well, and when we have a party, everybody brings their own meat. Everybody brings a dish, and everybody brings a cooler with their own drinks in it.
That's good.
So then we all share the dish, and then I have 2 or 3 barbecue pits going at any time,
Right.
and we're cooking the food.
Okay, so when's this party?
We're
on the way. You got to get out of the home show, right?
Right.
The weather we've been having, it's spring now.
It is.
This weather today is amazing.
It's amazing. I was on an appointment yesterday, and the couple asked me, when we could start on the pool. And I said, and I told them when we could start on it. But I said, this is early March, and it's supposed to be 80 degrees this weekend.
Yeah.
Years ago, the ground was frozen in March. We would always plan on starting our excavation season the 3rd to 4th week of March, because the ground was always frozen this time of the year. And it was frozen down 10, 12, 15, 18 inches. And we'd have to wait for it to thaw before we could start digging.
Yeah, I didn't know that. Now, I'll go back far enough to, and we're practically the same age. So I'm not gonna throw the, but I remember digging some pools in January and February and getting through about 6 inches of ice. But we would just dig it because we would set all that aside to spoils anyway, and we'd get down to the thaw ground and build. But to think that, I think we can all probably go back to that snowstorm that came through when we were all a lot younger, and I was out of school for 3 weeks, but that just doesn't seem to happen anymore.
No,
it just
it
seems
doesn't.
to have gotten warmer.
That was in '82. My daughter was born that year, February.
Yeah. Okay.
It was one in '93. That was for me.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
we had a big.
I just wanted to accentuate how much younger I am than the rest of you guys.
I was doing the math on it. I think the one that I recall was in the 70s, but regardless, it doesn't seem to.
Well, we had
one in 34.
We had one in '80. In '82, we had a big one where we had 13 or 14 inches of snow, and my daughter was born that year. But for years we would always plan on, and we would tell our customers, you're one of the first ones, and we'll start back up in March. It would thaw out, and then the ground turns like soup as soon as you drive into that ground with a backhoe and you put a rut in there and it rains. Now the rut fills up with rain, and it doesn't dry out in the spring until July. So you got to be a little careful. You got to plan.
Well, and do you remember 2010? Do you remember a year around 2010? Because I think it was 2010 when it got like this. This is the first time I ever remember weather like this since 2010, and we were like.
09 was the ice storm.
By August, it seemed to have the well-run dry of pools because we built everything because we could build everything for everybody back then. Anyway, those years.
Our weather is really, really changing. We don't get. I mean, we still get hot weather, but I can remember when we were kids, or when I was a kid, man, it would get. It was scorching during the summer.
So the extremes were.
It seems to be warmer in the winter and not as hot in the summer. We get those spans where it was for a week or so, but it seems like our weather's kind of mellowing out. It's much calmer in the winter and not as dramatically hot in the summer. We don't have the extremes we used to have.
I thought coming to St. Louis would be we would shut down, and we don't seem to shut down at all in St. Louis.
No, the only time we're really shutting down when we get snow on the ground, or when the ground freezes. We can excavate, but the ground's going to move. You don't really want to be doing plumbing when it's freezing outside. You don't want to be doing all that stuff. So, and our guys are out there working when it's 90, 95 degrees in a hole where there's no air moving. So it's nice to be able to give them time off in the winter to kind of recover and let them take it easy. And they kind of gear up for the next year coming, because when we start, it's a push.
It goes crazy.
We're going 99 mile an hour once we start.
Well, Brian, when two old men start talking about the weather, you know that not much more is going to get done. So, man, I want to thank you for coming on. And it's
been my knees hurt.
It's been a real pleasure talking to you. And never have a chance to. We've only been doing this for a couple of months, but it's so fun to just sit down and have a conversation. And maybe somebody that might be one of our customers someday will kind of get to see inside your soul. I can tell that you got a good heart, and y'all got a good company. It's been around for a long time.
We appreciate that. Yeah, we try to do good,
But I'm sorry, I can't recommend you.
Well, ditto.
Understood.
Yeah,
understood. But it's nice to.
There's enough business out there that's right. If you're a good, honest company, there's business out there. And
that's right.
During COVID, it kind of got a little hairy there for a while, because a lot of pools were being put in without permits.
Oh yeah. A lot
of pools were being put in without any engineering if it needed to be done. And now a lot of those problems are starting to show up, and it's there's some bad stuff out there. Really, unfortunately, it kind of gave our.
Is it DIYers?
No, I don't want to blame any one particular industry, but there were some people that if they had a pickup truck, they were a pool installer. At least they thought they were, because doing fiberglass pools kind of in the mind of a lot of people, well, that's easy. You dig a hole and you slap a pool in the ground. Well, it's nowhere near that easy, but it looks like it's that easy.
That's dangerous.
It is. It's very dangerous. And, the kiss of death for a fiberglass pool is sand. You put sand on the bottom of the pool, you put sand around the outside of the pool. I guarantee you one of these days that pool's going to crack. Can't tell you when, but it's going to crack. And it's going to crack down at the very bottom in the deep end of the pool where it makes that bend.
Well, and the other kiss of death is plumbing behind the pool. There's forcing water behind the pool that drains the pool and
starts to leak and and that sand will shift when it gets wet. So it's going to cause some issues. And you got to do rock on the bottom. You got to do rock around the outside. But a lot of those problems are starting to show up now, and it's kind of scaring a lot of people, unfortunately, because you know there were a lot of people that weren't qualified that saw, a pool costs this much, we can make a ton of money, and they end up losing their shirts. And next thing you know, they're gone. You can't get a hold of them. And I get a phone call from somebody wanting me to testify because you know they got $100 and some $1,000 in their backyard, and it's about to go sliding down the hill.
Yeah, and it's disappointing to see that a customer has to go through that.
It is.
And then sometimes they will end up paying to pay less. Sometimes they will end up paying 2 or 2.5 times more because of
now you got tired out.
They went on the price. You know, Brian, I have to say that I like talking to pool people about as much as anybody. You know that you've ever heard the term "misery loves company"?
I do.
Yeah. So this business, this tough business, you know, it's kind of nice to share some time with somebody in the business because you know we got a lot in common. We have seen a lot of the same stuff over the years. So enjoyed.
The industry has changed, and you know, you just kind of go with the flow, but then you stop and you think back about what we did 25 years ago, 20 years ago, 15 years ago. And this industry has changed tremendously. And, you know, I've been a part of it. Our company's been a part of it. We've come up with a lot of cool things that we've done. But to see the changes, to go back and think about what I did 25, 28 years ago compared to now, it's like it's totally different.
It is.
Oh my gosh.
Some of it is technology, but a lot of it is just the way that the things we're doing when the textures and the way liners are made now, and the things that you can put in and customize pools with, and all. It has definitely changed. Even some of the decking that's available around now is different.
Well, in fact, when I started, primarily, if you wanted a free-form pool, you had to go concrete. Fiberglass pools were just in their infant stages, and there was a lot to be desired on those, you know,
for sure.
But the liner pools were mostly rectangle. That was all, you know, we didn't start doing freeform pools until about 17, 18, 19, 20 years ago. Right. But for the first years, it was all rectangle pools, you know, and just to where it's at now, it's come along. So, and the salt systems and the automatic vacuum cleaners have kind of taken swimming pools into the next level.
Right.
You know,
and cordless vacuum cleaners seem to be making corded, you know, obsoleters.
It will.
Corded cleaners obsolete.
It will.
And corded cleaners made the suction side cleaners and the pressure side pump operated cleaners obsolete. And so who knows what's next?
AI.
Constantly
AI
evolving.
cleaners. We're going to have little robots that come out when, you know.
That is going to happen. Robots are going to come out. I don't know about that, but they're going to go and get in the pool. The robotic cleaners are going to.
Well, kind of like an iRobot now, you can program that to do your house. And eventually I see the remote control vacuums in the pool doing the same thing.
I can see a little Roomba that does your house, then goes out, cleans your pool, comes in, cooks your dinner.
Yeah, they don't want to compete. They've got a territorial relationship.
Closes the garage door at night.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Takes care of your pets.
Yeah, so there's some more to come. That's for sure. It's gonna get. We got to stay up with the.
And now we can control things through the phone, but I think we're going to get into a time where the pool will pretty much Hayward did it a few years ago. They came out with a system that would monitor the pH and all that, and it worked okay, but not great. But I do foresee somebody's going to come up with a situation where they can test the chlorine, they can dispense, they can adjust the salt.
Oh yeah, you see real time. On your phone, you see real-time readings of whatever it is, for sure.
And you'll have chemical dispensers where the pool can dispense those chemicals and things like that. It's got to be a slow progression instant. The Hayward kind of did a bunch of it real quickly, and it changed the water chemistry too much, and then it fought itself to recorrect, and then but somebody's going to come up with a good system that will monitor the water and take care of it.
Make it even easier.
Yeah.
Well, Brian, we'd like to do these things make these about 15 minutes long, and I think
so. We've had 4 of them,
but you know, it's hard. It's hard to you don't just get to meet everybody. You can't see inside your soul in 15 minutes.
Well, this is not a simple business. I mean, this is a very complex business.
Yeah.
And when you sit down with somebody from scratch and start to talk about a pool and what the pool can do for their life and all that, before you know it, it's an hour and a half.
Yeah.
It's like, oh my God, where'd the time go?
And it is. And then you get to meet some good people.
Oh my gosh.
And
fantastic people.
Good stuff.
Well,
I really love this business. I really do.
we certainly appreciate you coming on with us. And with that, I am going to wrap us up and say, here we are. We never told people where we are. We're at the St. Louis. What is the official, the Home Builders Association
Home and Garden Show.
Home and Garden Show here in St. Louis. And this is the Aloha Pools and Spas Deep Dive Podcast. And like we say every time, dive safely.
Hey, we did that. We did that right. We're getting good at that.